You understand what it's like to deal with dysfunction. You understand what it's like when a new ballpark is on the horizon, how to start building. I want you to get into David Forst's shoes. And from your perspective as someone who did this at such a high level for so long, how you feeling for David, and what do you think he's going through right now as he's sitting here trying to make moves, or at least set up something, pave the way to make moves later on?
Yeah, I think you and I talked about this during the season last year. And I mean, I've gone through some major rebuilding jobs, but there was always light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, the thing that always blew me away by the job that Billy and David had done for so many years is knowing that the stadium issue had this dark cloud hanging over their head. And they, there's so many ups and downs emotionally attached to that. Like in Cleveland, to give you an example, when we went through that massive rebuild in the 90s, we knew that Jacobs Field was coming in 1994. So the pain of all those losses in 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, but we saw light at the end of the tunnel and we could see the talent we were collecting. I can't imagine what it'd be like showing up every single day with that pressure on you, but no light at the end of the tunnel. That would have been emotionally really hard because, I mean, all the people that do these jobs, they're competitive people. And even if you're realistic about your opportunities to win, it doesn't make the losses any less painful. And the disappointments of, a deal that doesn't work out or a player you draft that doesn't get over the hump at the big league level, it just takes an emotional toll on you over a period of time. And it's really hard to maintain any kind of optimism about the future. These are really, really hard jobs. And I really feel for what David's trying to do. I think David's personality has a better chance to handling it than maybe mine's did or even Billy's did, because I think we are wired a little bit tighter. I think David's got a way of putting things in perspective exceptionally well. And I think that behooves him to be able to survive this period of time and start to see all the good things that are happening in the AIDS organization, because I think there are. It's just you don't necessarily see it just yet at the big league level.
And when you preach patience, it's one thing, patience for a year, 2 years. 2028 is a long way away.
It is. And it's hard because you have, like I call them, waves of opportunities to win. And so you go through a rebuild and then a wave comes of players, and you want it to time it to where it hits, to where the pitching and the hitting somewhat, you never match it up perfectly, but it creates this opportunity for winning. And yet, like, where are they going to be at? What is their payroll that they can be supported with the club? If they're good young players, can they sign them long-term to have some kind of sustainability? Or do you have to turn it again and again? I can tell you the hardest job for a general manager in a game is not the first rebuild. It's the second rebuild. You use so much of your institutional energy and your passion for the game going into a rebuild. Man, it's to do it a second time. I think it's almost impossible. I think you need to move on at that point in time, because you just, you're worn out from doing it the first time.
You give everything you got.
Everything you got.
And you're like, I can't do this.
And then you get it, and you really start to see all the fruits of your labor, and then look at it and go, oh my God, I've got to do this all over again. I told Dayton Moore after Kansas City won, and they were about to go through a rebuild. I said, because we had to do this in Colorado. So when we got to the World Series in 2007, we still had a pretty good run. We didn't play well in 2008. We were really good in 2009. Just ran into an incredible Phillies team in the playoffs. But I knew, like, and so in my mind, I should have left the Rockies in 10. Like, that should have been my parachute year. But Kelly McGregor passed away. There were a lot of factors that I ended up staying there. But I wasn't the same. I was a little smarter, and as relates to what I focused on, and I saw things that I didn't see when I was younger. But I didn't have that same it factor I did through the first rebuild, because it's just hard, man. It's just really, really, really hard. So I sympathize with what David's trying to go through now. And I can tell you, as good a team as he has around him, when you're the top guy, it's the loneliest place in the world. I mean, you're the one that at the end of the day has to, answer to everybody. And a lot of times people want you to provide answers and you don't even know yourself. Yeah. Like, he doesn't know truly what's happening with the ballpark situation. He probably doesn't even know his own personal situation as it relates to, the whole move and everything else. And it takes a really strong individual mentally and somebody with tremendous character and integrity to show up every day and grind it out and do the very best he can do under those conditions.